What's good? It's Sam here, and I wanted to talk to you about Adderall. First of all, like what it is, which I'm sure you can figure out for yourself. Just do some googling, and then my experience and why I took it and how I took it. Um, Depending on, yeah, we'll see how far I get into that. Anyways, Adderall is generally prescribed for. It's a prescription drug here in the United States. Probably a prescription drug where you are too. It is generally prescribed for people with ADHD or ADD, I believe, or whatever the acronym is for it, for hyperactivity. Um, and it is a stimulant. It's much greater than caffeine is. It's kind of like an amphetamine. And it can be addictive. It's in the same family as Ritalin, and there's another one that starts with a C that I don't remember the name of it. Excuse me. So I was prescribed by my doctor Adderall, and if you have ADHD, from my understanding, Adderall has a calming effect. I do think a lot of people are just hyperactive, period. They just get excited. I think it's part of life to be excited and passionate about things. Excuse me, where I don't think you necessarily need or think it's even the best option to try to take off some of those peaks when people do get excited about things, because I think there's some real magic that happens when people are so hyper focused on and they're so passionate about whatever it is that they are doing. Anyways, I that's what I've heard. I feel like I've always been a little bit hyper, and now I've never really had any issue with focusing. But my doctor prescribed Adderall. I think it was 20 or 30 milligrams. It was a quick release. So there's a quick release and then there's a time release. From my experience, the time release comes in a capsule form with these little balls inside of it, where it's, you know, those vegetable capsules they pull apart. That would be the time release, whereas the quick release are just the ones I had were orange, I think, and that's a tablet. That's where they take the powder and they compress it under pressure to create a little tablet. And I think I had a couple different things. I think I had 30 milligram prescription at one point, and then I think I had a 20 milligram prescription at a different point. Anyways, I prefer the quick release. Now, I got the prescription while I was in graduate school. I didn't really use it very much to study with for grad school because I thought that was fairly easy. For the MBA, I didn't find that super challenging, and I did not see a need to take Adderall while I was in grad school. I just didn't think it was necessary. It was easy enough as it was. I think I may have taken a little bit of it for final exams in terms of the preparation, because I didn't really do a tremendous amount during the year, I felt like. So I would just go back and then spend like two 12 or two 24-hour periods, or two days, 12 hours each, or something along those lines, right before a final exam, just to get everything in my head, and that way it was pretty easy. I think I finished with like a 3.4 or 3.45 or something like that, or a 3.5, right around that for my overall GPA. I barely bought books. Hey, it's completely off topic. Anyways, what I did use it for was recreation, as well as studying for the CFA. When I was taking level 2, so the CFA is 3 parts. It's a chartered financial analyst. There's 3 exams. You can take it in the minimum amount of time is about 2.5 years. It takes to get it, but there's only 1 exam offered per year. So generally speaking, it takes about 3 years to 5 years to take it if somebody actually stays with it. And I use that to prepare for that. So when I would use that, I would take copious amounts of fucking Adderall, because I wouldn't be using it generally just for grad school, because grad school I didn't think it was necessary. But when I was studying for the CFA, I would do copious amounts of studying. And you can ask my old roommates or my brother, and I would spend somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 16 hours a day the month prior to. That's when I would use all my vacation and everything like that, and I would try to take pretty much the whole month off prior to taking the CFA exam, and it would be 7 days a week, 12 to 16-ish hours per day of non-stop studying. Every day, all day, 7 days a week. And I would take Adderall. I would take Adderall somewhere in the neighborhood of, I would take, I think, the 20 milligrams. I would break them in half, and I'd have 10 milligrams every 45 minutes from when I woke up until sometime in like mid to late afternoon. If it was a 16-hour day, I think the latest I would stop would be like 6 or 7 o'clock, because then I knew that by like 11 o'clock it would be down in my system low enough where I could go to sleep. And first of all, don't fucking do what I was doing. I'm sure it's not safe. I'm sure there's tremendous amounts of risk involved in that, but you get in the zone and hours would just completely fly by. I would generally get into the zone maybe after the first hour or two going, and I would just have everything within arm's reach. So I'd have my desk in front of me, and within arm's reach I'd have a little bit of food, might have my water or drinks or whatever. I'd have the other textbooks, I'd have pencils, papers, calculator, everything. So I would literally just not get out of my seat. And I'd get in a state where I wouldn't even know what else was happening around me, because I was so focused on what I was doing. There would be hours and hours and hours would just fly by where I would just focus on what I'm doing. Sometimes I would get through an entire textbook in a day. And there's six textbooks that cover each CFA exam. And I'd get through an entire textbook in like a day or a day and a half. That's going reading from cover to cover and doing every single question in the entire book. And that was pretty intense, but it was definitely and remember, don't do what I do. I'm not recommending anybody else do this. This is a fucking stupid thing to do. Luckily, I'm still alive, but it was. I would get in the zone, and generally I'd be in the zone for a decent part of the day. But there was a lot of. I would get in the zone, and before I know it, it would just be hours and hours later, and I would have, so much more progress. I would also take my phone and I'd put it in the other side of the room and I'd shut it off and just not even be on my phone whatsoever. Anyways, I've taken it for recreation as well, both in different forms, and that was very. When I was younger, I would go out more often than I do now. Well, I used to go out all the time. I don't go out anymore at all. But I would take it recreationally, both orally and through my nose. And that was also not a good idea. I wouldn't recommend any of this. None of this is advice for what you should do or what you shouldn't do. It's just my experience from what I had done in the past. And yeah, I think I definitely enjoyed Adderall. I'm not opposed to taking it again in the future. I wouldn't recommend taking as much as I took or taking it the way I took it. I want to put the information out there so that somebody else who's going through the same thing at that moment can understand the thinking that I was going through at that point in my life, and how I dealt with it and what I did. And I think it was like every 45 minutes I would take 10 milligrams. So you're high as fuck. Like, you're just completely like, I mean, you're done. I don't know if anybody had to deal with me, like my brother or my roommates, like how I was at that point. I probably just completely ignored everybody else and everything. I bet if my girlfriend at the time, if I had a girlfriend, I don't even remember. I think I did for part of one of the exams or something. I would bet that I didn't even talk to her for weeks at a time, or it would be a short text message right in the evening. I would not. I enjoyed it. I don't think you necessarily have to go that route with it. I think that there's depending on if you like that balance or if you like the extremes. I like the extremes. I think that there's a lot of magic that happens at the extreme ends of things. And with the extreme personality of just going like a fucking needle in and just understanding whatever it is to tremendous depth. I think there's a lot of value that can come from that, and there's a lot of magic that happens. That's where those breakthroughs happen that you hear about in the news, in my opinion. But I don't know. If you have any questions, let me know down below in the comment section on the way down to the comments. The red button that says subscribe, press that shit, and you get to see more of this pretty little mug in your news feed. Also, if you press that little bell next to the subscribe button, then you'll get a notification every time I post a video. That's like gold. Why the fuck wouldn't you want that? If I was you, I would press that button. And if you had any other crazy experiences like that, let me know down below in the comments. Also, some point over the next few days, I will be giving away a book, and I'll give you the instructions at the end of one of these upcoming videos. And I'll ship it to, it's Jack Welch's autobiography. Another thing that I forgot to mention was that I would actually just stockpile the Adderall, so I wouldn't be taking it for grad school because I didn't think it was necessary. So I would just stockpile. I would still keep getting my prescription from my doctor, but I wouldn't take it, and I would just stockpile it because I knew at some point it would be valuable for me in terms of using it. So also I don't recommend that either. But do follow your doctor's supervision, get educated, and make your best choices. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace.